Here we go. Hey, Joe.
Josh, how are you, my friend?
Good to see you again. Excited to talk to you about Bitcoin, real estate, equity, all that fun stuff. I know my members, there's about, I don't know, 105 of us here. There'll
hmm
be a couple hundred more watch this recording. I'm excited to share what you guys are doing because I'm an old real estate flipper and
hmm
kind of currently a trophy real estate investor for bonus depreciation purposes. We have a lot of real estate investors and obviously homeowners in our group here at Get Paid Daily, and so I want to just kind of start off with our time for efficiency's sake, just on a high level. I want to ask you to give me the elevator pitch. Like if you and I see each other, in New York City, in a hotel elevator, and we both
hmm
have Bitcoin t-shirts on, and all of a sudden we strike up a conversation. What the heck is Horizon, and why does it help me as a Bitcoin enthusiast?
Absolutely. Well, Josh, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me and the entire crypto y'all community. Thank you for listening and being here today. So the bottom line is this: your home is not appreciating as fast as Bitcoin. Over
Mm.
the last 5 years, the average home growth rate on an annual basis is less than 3%. And as everybody in this Zoom call knows, price inflation has run hotter than 3% for those 5 years. And so, even though your home may look like it's going up in price in nominal terms, when you adjust for inflation, it's actually losing value. And that's before you add in taxes, insurance, maintenance, all of the other things that go into owning a property. And so, if your largest asset, typically it's 55% of the average American's portfolio, if your largest asset is losing money, you would sell it and you would buy something else. But the reality is, when it comes to a home, we need to live somewhere. We need to live in it. And so ultimately, what Horizon helps homeowners do is we allow homeowners to convert their home's equity into Bitcoin so that their Bitcoin can work harder for them, so that their equity that's losing money every single year in real terms can be converted into Bitcoin and actually appreciate and work harder for them. And we do this without debt, without monthly payments, without interest charges, and without term limits. So for the time that you're living in your house, you could convert some of your idle equity to Bitcoin, set it and forget it. Then when you sell the property, now you've got a nice pile of Bitcoin over here that appreciated a lot while you were living there instead of the equity that maybe did 2%, maybe did 3% for you while you were living there.
So at the end of the day, someone has to believe in Bitcoin here. Like
Mhm.
that's like your target audience is someone who's been orange pilled already. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah, most of the folks that we've worked with so far have been people who are already well and truly orange pilled. People who come to us already have a firm understanding of Bitcoin. They understand why it's such a valuable asset. They understand the thesis behind Horizon, which is that real estate is an asset class that just continues rising in value. It's politically protected, but it's not rising
Yeah.
faster than inflation and it's not rising faster than other assets. And they see Bitcoin as a solution. So, really, like the folks who come to us, they're already problem aware,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
So let's talk about the psychological. Let's just go ahead and get the scary part out of the way. This is
hmm
my home. I'm a Gen Xer, I'm a baby boomer, I'm a retiree, or maybe I'm a millennial who has a young family, whatever.
Yeah.
And as an American, again, I can't speak for all citizens all over the world, but the United States, at least, my property, my home, I'm talking about my family primary residence right this second, is sometimes my largest piece of net worth for the common citizen.
hmm
How do you help me not be scared about this? Like, where's the, uh, how can you help me not be skeptical? Where's the shell game, or is there a shell game that people have approached you with going, man, this sounds too good to be true? Like, do you ever get that comment or that anxiety from people who come to Horizon?
It's natural to be confused and a little bit skeptical about the prospect of Horizon at first. The way that I assuage those fears is a couple of different things. So the first fear that folks have when they come to us, if they do have a fear, is this is my home, it's where I live, it's where my wife and kids live. is my home at risk because of Bitcoin volatility? The answer
Yeah.
is no.
Yes. Okay, great.
Yes. So Bitcoin's volatility will not risk you losing your home. And the reason is because we don't actually hold the Bitcoin as collateral. The Bitcoin is entirely held by the homeowner. The only thing that we hold as collateral is a second lien on the property, which is just a standard agreement lien. And so the question then becomes, okay, can Horizon force me out of the deal? You say there's no term limit with Horizon, but can Horizon force me to sell my home at any given point in
Great
time?
question.
The answer is no.
Okay.
So our rights do not go beyond what we're entitled to upon the sale or voluntary closure of the home. So we can't knock on your door and say, we would like to close out our agreement. We demand payment right now.
Mm.
It's entirely the homeowner's prerogative when they would like to settle up, either through selling or just voluntarily settling up at any time with us, selling a chunk of their Bitcoin to pay down the proceeds. So that's how I answer that question. The home itself is not put at risk whatsoever, right? There's no risk of actually losing the property. The only event in which Horizon would be entitled to payment, which that was not initiated by the homeowner, is if the home falls into foreclosure. So obviously, if you stop paying your mortgage, if you stop paying your property taxes, and the state initiates foreclosure on you, then in that event, Horizon would be entitled to payment. But beyond that, we cannot initiate foreclosure. We can't kick you out of your house, and your home is not at risk due to Bitcoin volatility. That said, the key risk with Horizon, of course, because I did see a comment saying, what, there are no risks? No, there are risks. And the biggest risk is that Bitcoin underperforms, or it does nothing, or it goes to zero, right? It's pretty self-explanatory, right? If
Yeah.
your home is doing 3, 4, 5% a year and Bitcoin is flat for the next 10 years, then obviously Horizon is not a great deal. Similarly, if Bitcoin winds up going to zero, then Horizon is not a great deal. However, if you believe that Bitcoin is going to appreciate faster than your home for the time that you're living in it, Horizon is a no-brainer, right? Josh just put a link to Horizon in the chat. For those of you who want to go and check it out, plug your property in, use the calculator. I'm actually gonna be using the calculator in just a moment to show you guys an example of this, so
Oh,
you
I
can
can't
see
wait
what
for
it may
this. I
work
love
like on your
calculators.
property.
Yes.
But yeah, that's essentially it. As far as the risks are concerned, there's no risk to the property itself. The chief risk is that Bitcoin underperforms for the time that you're using the Horizon contract.
But you don't even realize that downside. Like it's your home, so it's not like if there's a 50% drawdown by at the time that you take out your Horizon, or you do your Horizon deal, like you don't actually suffer from that, right? Because
Mhm.
your equity was locked up in your home anyway. You still have your roof, your plumbing, the warmth of your home. Like that's the great part about this is you're putting your equity to work in I mean, you probably know the stats as well as I do, but like the Bitcoin that I know does like 30 to 50% compound annual growth rate every year over 5-year cohort. So most people live in their homes 5 to 7 years. That's just first year, I guess, or first
Mhm.
homes. I mean, the home that I'm in right now with my growing family, I'm about to be an empty nester. I'll live in it for another 5 or 10 years, and I've already lived in it for 9. So that amount of time, if I could go back and not only lock in my awesome interest rate, my pre-COVID interest rate of two
Right.
and three quarters, but also now have been able to have another 25% of my that equity be in Bitcoin since 2020. Good gracious, that's awesome. That's way better than what my frozen home equity up to this point would be.
Oh, for sure. And it's a neat way of doing this because like obviously homeowners are sitting on this mountain of equity. Let's say you refied in 2021, 2022, you've got a 2.5% rate. But also your home has gone from $1 million to 1.2 million or 1.3 million. You want to cash out refi so badly, but cash out refiing means you're going to reset your rate. Right.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. And so, our solution exists not only to not add monthly payments, but you could still take that equity out and deploy it into Bitcoin so it could work harder for you 20, 30, 40% compound annual growth rate year over year. But also, you do it in such a way that avoids those monthly payments, right? A lot of folks in this call, you may be able to stomach a monthly payment. Maybe some of you already have a HELOC outstanding that you've used to purchase BTC. That said, oftentimes it's not ideal, right? It's not ideal to have a monthly payment in addition to your mortgage payment to be able to purchase Bitcoin. That's why we don't have a monthly payment at all, right? So it's not going to reset your rate. It's not going to introduce a new monthly payment into your lifestyle. It's just a set it and forget it solution, right? We are financially interested in the home's growth over the next 5, 10, 15, however many years you're in the home. And you could be financially interested in the Bitcoin, right? Which you're of the belief will perform better than your house.
That's what I love about one of the things you just said that I love is you don't have any extra debt servicing to worry about with it,
Hmm. Yep.
right? If I'm looking at the Bitcoin chart, like I'm going to share this real quick, and then I want you to share your screen and show us your tools. But like, I went back to the when I bought my home. Bitcoin is at its peak was up 1,281%,
My goodness.
and it right now it would be at set that so that horizon that piece of horizon in my real estate would be up 700% right now. My house is not up. My total home equity is not up 700%. Even if I had a minority of my equity in a Horizon deal right now, I would still that minority of my house would still be outperforming the totality of my real estate market. That's what I
Hmm.
just what I want people to understand. And if you're a believer in Bitcoin like myself, and you probably wouldn't be a member of Get Paid Daily if you weren't, then you would understand that Bitcoin is programmatically an accretive asset and that
Hmm.
it has no top because the dollar has no bottom, right? That's what we
That's
talk
right.
about as Bitcoiners. Okay, so I don't want to steal the show. Do you mind sharing your screen and walking us through kind of like a standard um,
Absolutely.
scenario?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share my screen. I'll
And
walk
we'll
through
do
the way
Q&A.
that
I'll get with the chat here in a minute. So don't feel pressure to answer all the questions. I'm going to go back because you might answer them.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I do see a lot of questions piling up, so I was just about to
Good.
answer those,
Good.
but I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Don't worry, Cindy, Freddie, Jeff. We'll go
Yeah,
ahead
we'll
and
get
answer
to
your
y'all, I
questions in
promise.
just a moment here. Okay, so this is the Horizon calculator. Now, if you guys are interested to see how this would work on your property specifically, go to joinhorizon.com. You can check out the link that Josh has in the chat. Click on that, go through the process. You'll be able to see this calculator so you can plug in your own home value and your mortgage balance and see what this could do for you. So, bottom line, the way that Horizon works is very simple. You're converting a portion of your home's equity to Bitcoin. So, how does that actually work in practice? Well, it works like this. So, you are eligible to draw up to 22.2% of your home's value out tax free. So that's one of the questions that I saw. It's a non taxable event in order to convert it to Bitcoin. The way that this works in practice is we wire the funds to your Bitcoin exchange of choice or to your bank account, and then you purchase the BTC at your venue of choice.
That's
The
cool.
reason we do it this way is because we're huge self custody advocates. And so we want you to hold your Bitcoin wherever you're comfortable holding it with the rest of your stack. Now, some of you may be thinking, only 22.2%. That's much lower than what I can get on a HELOC up to 80%, 85% LTV, right? Well, the reason that is number one, Horizon is not debt. So we have fewer rights than a second or first lien holder like your mortgage or your home equity line of credit. That's why I mentioned we don't have any foreclosure rights or anything like that. But the other beautiful thing is that even though your maximum LTV, 22.2% of your home's value, being able to convert it to Bitcoin, is ostensibly lower than those other options, you can use them in addition to those other options. So we can take third position, right? If you have a mortgage, if you have a home equity line of credit, we're more than able to take third position. And so this isn't like a substitute for a mortgage or a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit. It's a complement to both of those things. So you could use it in addition to it. That said, I'll dive into the presentation here and show you the way that these numbers work. I just plugged in an example home value of $1 million. Let's say they own the home free and clear. The maximum that this homeowner would qualify for is $216,973. So I'll walk through this scenario in practice, but I want to lay the foundation here. So day one, you decide to swap out 216 grand into BTC. You put it into Bitcoin, you set it and forget it. It's off on a ride, right? Right now, since Bitcoin is down 40% from its all-time high, now is a pretty good time to do something like that. But let's say that the homeowner decides to remain in their house for 10 years. Bitcoin is doing work for them in the background. In exchange for that 216 grand worth of funding to buy Bitcoin tax-free, Horizon is going to get a commensurate lien on the property. So whatever percentage you decide to draw out, we receive as a lien in the property. And so, for example, just for easy numbers here, let's say a homeowner decides to swap out 100 grand. That's 10% of the home's current value. We get a 10% lien on the property. Now, after 10 years, the home has grown 3% per year. Bitcoin has grown 25% a year, keeping it relatively conservative here. Um, that means Bitcoin's future price will be about 681 grand, and the home's future value will be $931,000. This is how the net investment return looks for the homeowner after 10 years.
Mm.
So you can see here their Bitcoin investment is appreciated to 931 grand. The contract payoff is $312,000, making for $618,000. Now, how do we arrive at this number, right? Obviously, we understand the Bitcoin growth aspect of it, but how do we arrive at a contract payoff of $312,000? Well, effectively, whatever lien position we have in the property on day one, it's going to grow incrementally until the seventh year. And the maximum amount that it grows to is determined by a 2.25 multiple. So, for example, in this case, 2.25 multiplied by 10% of the home's value, which is what the homeowner drew out on day one, equates to a 22.5% stake in the home's value after year seven. So from year one to year seven, our stake in the home is growing from 10% to 22.5%, and then it's staying there. That said, after year seven, because our stake in the home is not growing, your annualized payoff cost is actually declining. So you'll notice here, year 10, Bitcoin's worth 931 grand, contract payoff is worth 312. If I bump this out an additional 5 years, you can see the contract payoff only increased by $50,000, but the Bitcoin value went from $900,000 to $2.8 million. And you can see here, the annualized payoff cost is declining as that occurs. So that's if you're planning on staying in your home for 15 years. If you want to stay in your home for 20 years, then your annualized payoff cost is 7.45%. So you're achieving a HELOC rate
Yeah.
without needing monthly payments. The future Bitcoin value at this point, 8.6 million, contract payoff 420 grand. If we ascribe to the idea of diminishing marginal returns, which I'll just do here so we don't get too outlandish in our projections, then you're looking at $3.8 million worth of Bitcoin 20 years from now, and $420,000 being your contract payoff. And if we push this all the way to year 30, I'm going to diminish these returns even further. Let's say over the next 30 years, Bitcoin only does 15% per year, basically what the S&P 500 has done, then this is how it would shake out. The Bitcoin will be worth $6.6 million. And all of a sudden, 30 years from now, the difference between using Horizon and not using Horizon is allowing your home to appreciate from 1 million to about 2.4 million 30 years from now, or taking just 10% of that equity, a very small, prudent chunk of it, swapping it into Bitcoin and turning that $1.4 million equity appreciation into $6 million of net investment returns by swapping it into Bitcoin. So it's an extremely powerful tool. That's the high level summary of the way that it works. I wanted to get through it relatively quickly. So
Yeah.
sorry if I spoke too quickly, but I know we got a lot of questions to get to. Josh, I'm sure you've got some questions too.
I have an analogy I'd like to use, and then we'll jump in. What this
Mhm.
really reminds me of, and this is what I was gonna get all my members to thinking about, like, and Joe did a good job. It's not, I wouldn't even compare this to home equity lines of credit or home equity loans. I don't even think of it this way. It's more like I get pitched all the time by startup companies, software developers, people who have an idea, a company, a Shark Tank idea, right?
Mhm.
Somebody starting a business, which by the way, I love and I support. But in this case, it's almost like you're really taking a part of your house and using that to invest in a startup company, not Horizon. It's called Bitcoin, but it already has way more track record, but you're getting the kind of like returns you would get if you invested in a small business than a rental portfolio or something. And the horizon piece that you were the sliding scale of the contract payoff math makes sense too. Like it's an ascending equity, but the Bitcoin slash real estate, the accretive value of that combo is it so far outpaces
Mhm.
Horizon's
Cost
equity
of
stake.
capital. Yeah.
From a fiat dollar value, it's a no brainer. So I compare it this more to like investing in a startup business that has a much higher success rate, than your typical startup business. That's probably not, you probably don't like that as an outsider, but that's just kind of how I'm thinking of it as an entrepreneur. So anyway, hope that helps make sense. So let's dive into some of these questions.
Perfect.
I'll kind of I'm going to scroll up a long ways and try to catch this. Um, does the equity have to come from a primary residence? Can I use equity from an investment property? Says Jeff.
It's a great question, Jeff. Over the next 2 weeks, actually, so we're in the final stages of it. 2 weeks from now, we're going to have support for rental properties and investment properties. So
Oh,
currently, the properties that are eligible are single family residences, so primary residences, secondary residences like vacation homes, whether it's a single family home, whether it's a condominium, whatever it
amazing.
may be. All of it qualifies. And in the
God,
next week or two, we're going to have support for rental properties as well. And so,
dude,
for those of you who are sitting here who've got two rentals, five rentals, 10 rentals,
there's a
15
lot of
rentals.
those people in this group.
There you go. If you've been thinking about selling those rentals to purchase BTC, one thing you can do, and Grant Cardone and I were actually speaking about this. I had him on my show a couple of weeks ago. Rather than doing that and forfeiting your cash flow to buy BTC, keep the cash flow with Horizon and just convert some of the equity to BTC using our program. So that's something you'll be able to do in the next couple of weeks. It's not available yet, but if you go through the flow on the website with the link that Josh put in the chat, put in your details. We're going to send everybody an email once investment properties are available.
I don't want to chase a rabbit here. Is that what Cardone Capital is doing? Are they using the Horizon playbook, basically?
Essentially, yeah,
Yeah.
essentially, but at a much larger scale. And so
Sure.
effectively what
Billions.
Cardone
Yeah.
Capital is doing, where they're adding BTC
Multi-unit.
to
Yeah.
every single one of their multi-unit deals, you can add BTC to your single family residence. Yeah.
Does it have to be your homestead or can we, okay, you already answered that. All right, let me skip down. Realize that it's kind of a moving target, but what are the tax implications, positive or negative?
Great question. So there's actually no tax implication up front. This is considered a non-taxable event. So let's say you do have $1 million home, you own it free and clear, you decide to swap out $250,000. Your income will not increase by $250,000 for the tax year ending in 2026. So there's no taxable event up front. However, if you decide to sell some of your Bitcoin, let's say you invest in Bitcoin, it rips using Horizon, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to close out the Horizon contract, take the lien off my property. If you sell some of the Bitcoin in order to do that, that would trigger a capital gains tax, right? Whether it's a short or a long-term capital
Yep.
gains tax. So with the Horizon deal itself, no tax implications. However, depending on how you decide to settle up the agreement, there may be tax implications.
He says, Steve says, my residence is in Maryland, which is not on your list, but I do own 20 acres of raw land free and clear in Pennsylvania. Can I use that?
Yes, you can. We'd be able to help you out. The appraisal may be a little bit trickier, but yeah, go.
Wow.
Feel free to go ahead and jump on the website, plug in the property details, and we'll hop on a call with you.
That's cool. I thought you were going to say no. That's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll use my referral link if you're going to do this in the chat. A couple more or a lot more questions. Let's see. How long have you guys been in business? Where's your headquarters? Like, who are you?
Yeah, so we're located in Palo Alto, beautiful sunny California. We've been around since the Bitcoin conference last May. So we had been working on the business for a full year, getting all of our licenses in place, and we decided to launch at the Bitcoin conference, and it's been gangbusters for us. But prior to that, as far as our track record is concerned, we have a combined 15 years of experience in structured finance, a combined 20 years of experience of building Bitcoin products. And prior to Horizon, we built a Bitcoin multisig platform called Thea that currently custodies over $250 million in AUM.
Oh
So we
yeah,
have plenty of experience building Bitcoin products, and Horizon specifically has been around for about a year.
I love that. Um, will this program work as a third or fourth position lien holder?
We will, yes. The paperwork may take a little bit longer than normal, but we will work as a third or fourth position lien holder.
If we joined now and Bitcoin ripped over the next few months, could we cash out of the gains of potential run, or do we only? Yeah, Freddie, you to Joe is literally wiring you money to buy the Bitcoin, and you have self custody of the Bitcoin. So once the paperwork with Horizon is finished, you are the liquid controller of your Bitcoin. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can do with the Bitcoin whatever you'd like. It's entirely in your custody. So, for example, let's say you decide to get in with Horizon over the next couple of months. Bitcoin remains here at 74K. All of a sudden, this June, it jumps up to 126, or then at the end of the year, it goes all the way to 200, whatever. You're more than welcome to cash out of a portion of your Bitcoin position, take the lien off your property, and then you've got Bitcoin, right? You're more than welcome to do that if you'd like. Most homeowners decide to stay in the Horizon deal for the length of time that they're in the property.
Yeah.
However, if you'd like to do this, you're more than welcome to sort of trade in and out, if you will.
How does Horizon make money off of this? I think we've explained that. Brad asked that about 20 minutes ago. So I'm going to forego that question right now. But basically, they own a stake in your home. And so when you go to sell, they've got, pay off the contract, they have an accretive stake.
That's correct. And also, in the interest of transparency, Josh, we also have an origination fee. So those are the two ways, right? Because most people will say, wait a minute, if there's no term limit, right? Well, actually, theoretically, our upper term limit is 130 years. So that's what
Got it.
we've put
Yeah.
in as our term limit. If there's no term limit, how do you guys ever get paid? Why don't you guys go out of business? Well, number one, we have a $1 billion credit facility. So, we have no issue as far as
You got to
acquiring funding
close.
is
Yeah.
concerned. And then we have an origination fee upfront, right? And then, of course, the lion's share of the way we make money is at the very end when you decide to buy back your stake in the home that you sold to us. So, anyway,
So again, and Chris Walker's asking this question. You've already kind of talked about investment properties and how we're going to be able to open those and do those in a few weeks. And if we
Mhm.
sell again, no matter whether it's an investment property or a primary residence, if you've got a Horizon agreement with, and you've got and you sell your property, you simply are just going to be responsible for the contract payoff, using
Mhm.
the closing proceeds from your property, and that'll all just be just like a good old fashioned closing attorney or title company. They'll do all the paperwork and pay off the lien holders. That's kind of how I imagine it would work, right?
That's correct. Exactly.
Yeah, we have self custody of the Bitcoin. Yes, Ryan. Any timeline for Washington State? Asking Colin.
Let's see here. Washington State. Yes, it is. I have on a sticky note the states that are on our immediate roadmap, and that should be live within the next couple of weeks. So all of our paperwork is with them. It's just a matter of them getting back to us. So it could be tomorrow, it could be a couple of months from now, but we're filed with the state. So as soon as they get back to us, we'll be live.
This is a good one from Greg. Can you pay off anytime and just have the lien removed if you want to?
You can absolutely, whether it's from proceeds from the sale of some of the Bitcoin that you purchased or just from your own cash reserves, you could voluntarily settle up at any point without selling your home.
And there's no like prepayment penalties, I'm assuming, or are there?
Exactly. Yeah. No prepayment penalties. So unlike a
Brilliant.
home equity loan, home equity line of credit, or other sorts of financing, you're not going to find any prepayment penalty whatsoever.
Brilliant. Will there be a cap on how many properties you guys will do? Like some of these guys own some big portfolios.
Yeah, we won't have any cap on how many properties people can use once we support investment properties. So, also to put this into context, we have one individual who has three homes, one primary, two vacation homes. We have serviced all three of them.
Okay.
So for any given individual, there's no cap on the amount of properties you could use with us. What we do find is that most folks will dip their toe in the water with one property. Once they go through the process, they see how seamless it is. They acquire their BTC for it. Then they go ahead and use their other property. So to answer your question, not to get long-winded, there's no cap whatsoever on the amount of homes that you could use with us.
When it comes to servicing, so there's not any debt servicing, but do you guys use like a title company or an escrow company or something to facilitate the closing for this?
We do, yes. So we have a financing partner,
Okay.
and they handle title, they handle escrow, all of that on our behalf. So all of that's streamlined, baked into the process, and we've dialed it down. So the process itself takes roughly 3 weeks, start to finish, and the sooner that appraisal can get done, the faster it generally is. So we've had folks who have an existing appraisal go through the process and get funded in a week. It sounds
Cool.
crazy, but yeah, that's to answer the question. We do have a company that works with us for that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, credit score doesn't come into play.
It does not. No. So credit score income requirements do not come into play. So long as it's not like an abysmal credit score, like sub 500, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're there, you're good to go.
Soft or hard credit pull on the application.
Yeah, so we'll do on the application itself, no credit pull whatsoever. If you
Okay.
decide to get an appraisal and put that into a final agreement, so move further along in the process, then we will do a hard credit pull just to
Okay.
verify.
Okay. Let's see. What's the max LTV that you'll allow?
That's a good question. So the max LTV we allow is 65%. So if you own less than 35% equity in your property, then unfortunately you won't be able to qualify with us.
Can this act as a revolving line of credit? Answer is no to that, right? It's not a.
Yeah, the answer is no. However, let's say if you would like to swap out, 10% of your available equity, and then a year from now you decide, you know what, I want to swap out even more, you could do that. So in a
Wow.
way,
Really?
yes, you could continue drawing up to your limit. But yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
the answer to that question.
That's you guys have great flexibility. I would have you've answered like two or three questions so far that I would have thought you would be more rigid about. That's great. I love you.
Beautiful. Yeah, for sure.
Um, commercial property?
No, commercial property, not yet, unfortunately. That one's definitely further out than rentals. Rentals are in the next 2 weeks. Commercial
Yeah,
property is probably not until 2027, if I were to guess.
understood. Um, who determines the value of the property?
It's a good question. So we do a third party appraisal company. So
Just
we'll
an
go through a
independent.
third party, order an appraisal in the area, just standard procedure. And then if it's over 1.2 million, we need two appraisals.
Got it. Um, if I currently own Bitcoin and get additional Horizon Bitcoin, then I sell some Bitcoin. How will we separate yours from mine? Oh, well, Sin, that um you may have missed it. Joe said that what they do is they wire fiat to you so that you can buy the Bitcoin and it's in your custody. So it's just in terms of like IRS, bookkeeping, this will be liquidity that's on your books. It's not Horizon's Bitcoin versus your Bitcoin. It's your Bitcoin. Can we purchase other digital assets with the financing or is it Bitcoin only? Do you have any control over that, Joe?
We have no control over that. What you purchase is entirely at your discretion. So, for instance, we've had folks who come in and they purchase 80% Bitcoin, 20% MSTR, right?
Yeah.
So it's entirely up to you and what your investment time frame is. We have Bitcoin on the website specifically because that has been the most reliable, tried and true asset over 5, 10, 15-year time frames.
What about recreational property like a camp on an island?
That's a good question. So, for the time being, we probably would not support that unless there are individual domiciles on the island itself. But feel free to put in your details and schedule a call with me. I'd love to actually walk through that with you and see if you'd qualify. That would be an interesting
Teresa,
one.
what a great little
Yeah.
idea. Can you walk through an estimated closing cost? Like,
100%. Absolutely. So the closing costs that are associated, number one is an appraisal. That's going to be an out-of-pocket cost from you. And I see that there was another question asking about how much cash will I need if I say go right now to cover costs. That's it. Whatever an appraisal costs in your area, and you can go ahead and look that up. Generally speaking, it's anywhere from like two or $300 up to $1,000 at the very high end if we're talking about like a mic, an extreme mega mansion, right? But probably just a couple of $100 for the appraisal. That's the only out-of-pocket cost to the homeowner. And then the other cost on the front end, the only other closing cost is the origination fee, which is 2.99%. And that gets financed into the agreement itself, so it's not out-of-pocket money from the homeowner. Those are the two costs, only one out-of-pocket cost. And so if you wanted to get going right now, you just need to have a few $100s.
formal appraisal with walkthrough?
Yes. So we do a full walkthrough
Yeah,
appraisal. In the future, we're working
good.
on doing more of like the figure HELOC type digital appraisals. But for the
Yeah,
time being, with the infrastructure we've got, we do a full walk around appraisal.
good, good, good. A lot of Texas folks, man. These Texas people want you there. Do you have a Texas
Yep.
timeline?
Yeah, so Texas is really tough. Texas and New York are really, really hard. We're working hard to get there before the end of the year, which I know is a really long way out, but that's the best I can do for now as far as Texas is concerned. They're really tough. They're not one of the immediate states that we're pushing for.
Will your program include rental homes owned outright inside a retirement account? Asks Rick.
Yes, they will. Yeah.
Great. 25 acres that I live on, but also run a business out of that property. This is my primary residence. Would this property qualify?
Yes, it would. We've had a couple of homeowners who have their business running off of their primary residence, running out of their primary residence, and they've been funded successfully. So you would be good to go there.
Michigan. Any thoughts on Michigan timeline?
Yes, Michigan is one of the states that is also coming up. So Michigan is on the timetable. The state has all of our paperwork. It's just a matter of them getting back to us and giving us the green light. So again, it could be tomorrow, could be several weeks from now.
Chris is asking, can we DCA into this? I'm not quite sure how what he means by that. Does that make sense to you off the top of your head?
Yeah, so can we dollar cost average into Bitcoin using the funds we receive from Horizon? I think is the question. You can, but it wouldn't be the best idea, right? And reason being number one, it does seem we're at or close to the Bitcoin bottom right now at 73,000. We could trend lower, we could go all the way back down to 60, but
Sure.
the reality is that once you get the funds, then our share in the property begins increasing, the contract kicks off. So it actually
Yeah,
behooves you to invest in Bitcoin earlier rather than DCAing using the funds.
that makes total sense.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um, well, rather than going down the list of all everybody's possible states and countries, just want to be cognizant of the time.
Mhm.
Is there a way to do you have like an email list that shoots out an update like that, hey, we're coming to this state? Like, how can do they need to go to my referral link and just join the email list? Like, how does that work? How can
Yep,
you keep everybody
exactly.
updated?
So, in order to get updated and also in order to actually go through the process, see if you qualify, book a call with me. So, everybody who is asking about booking a call and other things like that, just click the link that's in the chat at the very bottom here. Joinhorizon.com/y'all. It's the link there. And then once you get there, all you'll need to do is if you're in a state that qualifies, if you're in a state that doesn't qualify, just click unlock it today on the front page, walk through the process, and then you'll be able to add your email, get on our wait list, or book a call with me directly to talk about actually doing this for your property.
Cool. How quick do you close after the appraisal is received?
Yeah, so once the appraisal is received by us, we close and wire funds within 3 business days. So we're very speedy with it.
Cool. The lien's placed on the loan, not on the loan amount, but on the equity percentage, just for
That's
clarity.
correct.
Yeah. New York is hard, James. New York and
Hmm.
Texas, he said they're working on that.
Yeah.
So, more to come. All right. Well, Joe, any final things that you need to tell us that we didn't ask about before we go?
That was basically everything. I'd say that the final thing I'll say is that if you are of the belief that Bitcoin is going to appreciate faster than just about every asset as the dollar continues trending towards zero, then it would be a good idea to look in the mirror and assess whether or not you think your home is going to outperform Bitcoin. And if you don't think your home is going to outperform Bitcoin, Horizon is worth considering. I will
Mm,
say it's not for everyone, right? If you're in a home that you're planning on living in for the next 1 or 2 years, it's probably not ideal, right? Given Bitcoin's
sure.
cyclicality, Bitcoin may not be higher a year from now, 2 years from now, by the time you decide to move homes. However, if you're living in your home for a long period of time, whether that's 3, 4, 5 years or more, and you're a Bitcoin bull or a broader crypto bull,
Yeah.
it's worth taking a look at the Horizon website with the link that Josh threw in the chat and jumping on a call, seeing at least what your home can do for you, and then potentially giving this a shot.
Joe, amazing. What an amazing company. The roots of crypto, y'all. I was a real estate investor before got into crypto, before I read that Bitcoin white paper on your wall back there,
Hmm.
before I fell in love with it. I remember putting a for sale sign in the yard the day that Bear Stearns went underwater 2008 and thinking, what have I done? Just all of the real estate that we believe in. I still believe in it, but I believe in Bitcoin more. And so this is such a great marriage in terms of just the ethos and the seeds of what crypto y'all is about, and a lot of our members coming from and owning real estate, but moving into and trying to transition into the future of finance, the hard
Hmm.
assets that are less susceptible, if you will, to debasement. And so we're really appreciative of your time and what you guys are doing. Love your vision. And I hope a bunch of our members jump on a call with you and figure this thing out.
Amen. Absolutely. Josh, thank you so much for having me. And you guys have been great. The amount of questions you have put in the chat is just incredible. Your enthusiasm is like nothing I've seen before.
Everybody give me a number two to tell Joe thanks in the chat before he goes, just so that he can see how much you appreciate his time well spent here with us. So Godspeed, Joe, and maybe we'll have you on maybe in the next quarter or so. Sound good?
Fantastic.
All
I'm
right.
up for it. Take care,
I'll,
everybody.
I'll see everybody else in Discord. Cheers.